Imagine walking into a war zone where every soldier is encased in 6 inches of solid granite. 400 million years ago, the Earth was exactly that. If you weren't covered head to toe in literal rock, you weren't an animal, you were a snack. The oceans were a slow-motion demolition derby of living fortresses. Fish wore helmets. Squids lived in 10-foot-long stone cones. Even the ancestors of mammals were essentially biological tanks. But look at the world today. The great white shark, the orca, the lion, they are all completely, dangerously naked. Nature spent 100 million years perfecting the ultimate shield, only to eventually look at it and decide to delete the entire project. Why did evolution trade immortality for vulnerability? Why did the winners of life decide that being squishy was the only way to survive? To understand why the armor vanished, we have to look at the era where it reigned supreme, the Devonian. This wasn't a world of grace, it was a world of brute force. Enter the Placoderms. These weren't just fish. They were plate-skinned nightmares. Their heads and torsos were locked inside interlocking bony plates. The king of them all was Dunkleosteus. This 10-meter-long beast didn't even bother with teeth. Teeth break. Instead, it had massive self-sharpening blades of bone that functioned like industrial scissors. Its bite force? Nearly equal to a T-Rex. Its only mission? To punch through the literal stone walls of other fish. It was an arms race of the most basic kind. If your neighbor grew a thicker shield, you grew a bigger hammer. At this point in history, armor was a low-effort cheat code for survival. Predators back then were, frankly, terrible at their jobs. They were clumsy, slow, and had pathetic jaws. In a world of idiots, you don't need to be smart or fast. You just need to be impossible to swallow. For millions of years, armor defeated every problem nature threw at it. You try to bite? You're biting a rock. You try to crush? Good luck. You try to pierce with claws? You'll break them off. It was the perfect solution for a simpler time. If Dunkleosteus showed up in the Pacific today, no modern lion or shark could touch it. Their teeth would shatter against its face. So if the armor was truly that effective, why did the animal with the shield die while the vulnerable animals lived? Because armor isn't free. It comes with a massive biological tax. First, there's the energy problem. Unlike a human knight who can take his suit of mail off at the end of the day, these fish had to grow their armor from their own blood and minerals. They were diverting massive amounts of calories and nutrients away from their hearts, their muscles, and their brains just to maintain a wall of bone. Second, there's the physics problem. If you're wearing a bank vault on your face, you aren't exactly doing gymnastics. These creatures were heavy, stiff, and moved with the grace of an underwater brick. They were safe, but they were trapped. As predators began to evolve, they stopped trying to find a gap in the armor and started looking for ways to bypass it entirely. Nature invented the biological locksmith. Take predatory snails and early cephalopods. They didn't use brute force. They used chemistry. They evolved drills' tongues like serrated sandpaper and acid that could melt a perfect hole through a thick skull. Suddenly, that expensive armor you spent 1,000,000 years growing wasn't a shield anymore. It was just a sturdy lunchbox that the snail had the key to. Once they were inside, they'd liquefy the organs and leave the empty shell behind. This was the turning point. Evolution realized that armor was a losing investment. The more you put into the shield, the more specialized the predators became at cracking it. Then the game changed forever. Animals discovered the most overpowered strategy in the history of life, the agility meta. Armor is a permanent drain on your body. You pay for it every second of every day, whether a predator is there or not. But speed? Speed is a pay-as-you-go service. You only burn that high-intensity energy when a shark is actually behind you. The rest of the time, you're light, efficient, and free. If you can move twice as fast as the guy trying to eat you, it doesn't matter if your skin is soft as silk. He's never going to touch it anyway. Once the ocean shifted from a game of defense to a game of agility, the age of the tank was officially over. By deleting the armor subscription, animals suddenly found themselves with a massive budget surplus. They put that extra energy into better senses, spotting danger a mile away rather than waiting for it to hit your shell. Bigger brains, outsmarting the predator instead of just sitting there. Faster reproduction. This is the brutal math of evolution. It is cheaper to let a few squishy members of your species get eaten than it is to spend millions of years trying to make one individual indestructible. Survival of the tankiest was replaced by survival of the most adaptable. There's a darker reason why armored animals vanished: the specialization trap. If your entire body is encased in bone, your bloodline is locked. You can't easily evolve a sleeker tail, a different fin shape, or a more flexible spine if you're trapped inside a box. This makes armored animals incredibly bad at dealing with change, and in Earth's history, change is the only constant. When mass extinctions hit, when oxygen levels dropped or the climate shifted, the indestructible tanks couldn't pivot. They were biological bricks. The soft-bodied fish, however, were like biological clay. They could shrink, grow, change their diet, and move into new niches in a few million years. They survived because they were flexible enough to fail and try again. But wait, if armor is such a bad deal, why do we still have turtles? Why do crabs seem to be winning? They found a loophole. Armor still works, but only if you aren't trying to be an athlete. Turtles and crabs live in slow niches corners of the world where the predators are either just as slow as they are or simply don't have the tools to crack the shell. If your shell is just 10% tougher than the local predator's patience, you win. Today, we live in the age of the glass cannon. Look at a great white shark. It is a high-speed mussel with teeth. It doesn't even have a skeleton made of bone. It uses lightweight cartilage to save weight. Its defense is its offense. Even the armor we see today has been redesigned for the modern world. Whales don't use shells. They use blubber. It's a biological shock absorber. If a shark bites a whale, it hits a foot-thick layer of fat. The whale loses some calories, but its organs stay perfect. It's defense through being too much work to kill. Sharks have dermal denticles, microscopic teeth on their skin. This isn't there to stop a bite. It's there to reduce drag. It's armor that makes you faster. Could the Bone Age ever return? Probably not, because the competition has gotten too smart. If a fish showed up tomorrow with a face made of granite, an orca wouldn't waste time trying to bite it. It would just ram it. Armor protects you from a tooth, but it doesn't protect you from physics. If you get hit by 6 tons of apex predator moving at 30 miles per hour, your shell might stay intact, but your insides will turn into jelly. Once nature figured out how to build complex brains and high-performance muscles, it never looked back. The naked predators won the arms race. We traded the safety of the fortress for the freedom of the field. And looking at the world today, it seems nature made the right choice. Being unkillable is a dream. Being adaptable is a reality. The next time you look at a shark or even a human athlete, remember, their vulnerability is their greatest strength. We are fast, we are smart, and we are squishy, and that is exactly why we're still here. If you enjoyed this deep dive into nature's deleted scenes, hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. We're exploring the strange math of evolution every week. What's your favorite failed invention of nature? Let me know in the comments.